Okay, so when you hear the word histamine, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably allergies, right? Sneezing, itchy eyes, that whole deal. But what if I told you that's just scratching the surface of a much, much bigger story, a really ancient one? Let's get into it.
Yeah, what if that one little molecule is actually one of the most fundamental signals your body has? A signal that connects your immune system directly to your brain, basically telling you, hey, something's wrong. The world isn't safe and predictable anymore. It's a huge idea, so let's take a look at the evidence.
So, to really understand this, we've got to start small. I'm talking microscopic. Our story really begins with a battle, and it's a battle that's happening inside you right now. Every single second of every day, there's this invisible war going on between your immune cells and all the nasty stuff trying to invade.
And in this war, we have our heroes. Meet the neutrophils. You can think of them as the SWAT team of your immune system. They're the first ones to kick down the door when there's an infection, ready to hunt down and just eliminate the invaders. Now, this fight is something we've known about for a while, but some researchers recently decided to take a much closer look. And what they found? Well, it uncovered this incredibly clever, almost sneaky strategy used by some of our oldest enemies. Because it turns out these bacteria aren't just fighting back with brute force. No, they're smarter than that. They've basically figured out how to commit espionage. They've learned how to weaponize one of our own body's most important signals against us. And you guessed it, that molecule is histamine. See, it's so much more than just allergies. In this tiny war, histamine is playing the part of a double agent. And its loyalty? Well, it's shockingly conditional. Because here's the key thing the science is showing us. It's not about whether histamine is there or not. It's all about how much of it there is. The concentration, the dose, completely flips its function on its head. It can go from being our body's best friend to its absolute worst enemy. And you can see this Jekyll and Hyde thing in action right here. At low levels, histamine is like a super soldier serum for our neutrophils. It amps them up, makes them kill bacteria faster, but crank up the concentration, and it's the exact opposite. It paralyzes them. It's like it throws a smoke bomb, blinding our first responders so they literally can't even get a grip on the enemy. So you're probably wondering, how on earth do the bacteria pull this off? It's genius in a terrifying way. They've actually evolved the ability to make their own histamine. So they just start pumping it out, creating this little bubble around themselves, this histamine shield. And that shield completely hijacks and neutralizes our neutrophils just as they're about to attack. It's an amazing defense mechanism. And just how effective is it? We'll check this out. In the lab, when they infected larvae with these bacteria that can make histamine, the mortality rate was 100%. 100%. Every single one of them died. That's devastating. And the proof, it's right here in the data. Look at this. When the scientists did the same experiment, but with a version of the bacteria they'd tweaked, one that couldn't make histamine, the death rate just plummeted, all the way down to 10%. That massive difference tells you everything. That histamine shield isn't just a weapon, it's the weapon. Okay, so we've seen how bacteria can hijack histamine on this tiny microscopic level, which is fascinating. But it kind of begs a bigger question, right? What is histamine supposed to be doing? What's its real job? To get that, we need to zoom out, way out. And this quote from a recent paper it nails it. It says histamine is a low threshold detector of volatility, which is a fancy way of saying it's not a sniper rifle, it's not precise. It's more like a tripwire, a really sensitive one. It's just a fast, simple, system-wide signal that says, hey, anything is wrong here. So think of histamine as your body's general alarm system. It's already made, it's stored in your cells, just waiting to be released instantly. And it doesn't care what the threat is. It could be a virus, a splinter you just got, a weird chemical, it doesn't matter. Histamine's job is just to pull the fire alarm and scream, "Code red, the perimeter has been breached." And that puts your entire body on high alert. And here's where it gets even more interesting. That alarm signal, it's not just a local thing. It's not just happening in your tissues. No, that's a message that goes straight up the chain of command, all the way to headquarters, the central nervous system, your brain. And this, for me, is where the story gets absolutely wild. Because that exact same molecule, the one telling your immune cells to get ready to fight, is also sending a signal to your brain. a signal that fundamentally changes how you perceive the world around you.
See, deep inside your brain, there's this tiny little cluster of neurons, and their whole job is to make histamine. But even though this command center is small, its reach is massive. It sends out signals to pretty much the entire brain. And what do those signals control? Oh, just, our alertness, our attention, our basic ability to be awake.
So you can think of histamine as this master switch in the brain. Normally, your brain is in what we could call stable mode. It's running efficiently, using habits, kind of on autopilot. It's all about conserving energy. But when that histamine alarm goes off, it flips you into alarm mode. And suddenly, you're not tired anymore. You're wide awake. Your senses are sharper. Your brain is laser focused on one question: what changed? It stops relying on what it already knows and starts actively searching for new information, for new threats.
Now, this whole alarm system it's an incredible evolutionary tool for survival, right? But here's the catch. It was designed for short-term emergencies. A lion chasing you, a sudden injury. So what happens when that alarm switch gets stuck in the on position?
Just think about it this way. A fire alarm is a literal lifesaver, right? It goes off, you get out. But imagine a fire alarm that just never stopped ringing, all day, all night. It would be more than just annoying. It would be maddening. You wouldn't be able to think, to sleep, to function at all. And that's a pretty good analogy for what researchers think happens when this histamine system gets stuck on high. You get this constant state of hyperarousal. You just can't relax. Your sleep goes out the window. Your brain starts to rewire itself to see threats and dangers everywhere, even when things are perfectly fine. And the end result of being on high alert 24/7, you get brain fog and just this deep, profound fatigue. And this is why this whole thing matters so much. This isn't just some interesting science fact. This new perspective suggests that this constant, ringing histamine alarm could be a massive and mostly underappreciated piece of the puzzle for a lot of conditions. Things like anxiety disorders or even the really persistent fatigue that people experience after a major infection.
So that leaves us with a pretty provocative question to end on, right? For decades, we've been trying to invent new drugs that work directly on the brain to fix these issues. But what if the next huge breakthrough in mental health care isn't about targeting the brain at all? What if it's about learning how to reach in and finally reset our body's ancient and constantly ringing alarm system?